Hello everybody, my name is Ratnos. Welcome to Mythic Broodtwister. We were unable to make it very far into this fight, so I don't have a whole lot of footage for you. This fight was pretty nasty on Mythic. It was very nasty on the most recent heroic testing as well. If you see my heroic video of this, it was from an earlier version of testing where the fight was less nasty. We were able to make it more of the way through, but even on heroic, this thing was a bit of a menace recently too. So the basic idea is you have a bunch of eggs all over the room. On Mythic, you need 2 people to break each egg, and the way it works is that the boss will inject 8 people with like a purple circle around them, and you need to have 2 people on an egg to break it when that purple circle expires. In order to not wipe on this fight, every single egg needs to be broken. So every single time you get 8 of these things out, you need to have them spread 2, 2, 2, 2 across a bunch of different eggs, or else you will wipe. So you need to be able to coordinate that. Realistically, that means that you're going to need to have it be assigned. Now, that used to be a private aura. So the way that it was going to work was you were going to have a macro that you pressed, and then there'd be a map that showed up, and everybody who pressed the macro would get assigned to a different egg to go to, or 2 to the same, and then you would go to that egg. It has been removed from being a private aura, which means that the macro part of it has been removed, but it will still be solved by a weak aura popping up and being like, okay, you 2 go to this egg, you 2 go to this egg, you 2 go to this egg, just like jailer bombs were handled on the jailer. I think that this is not a good mechanic, and I think it is my biggest candidate for something that they should re-examine how it works. And rethink how it works. In particular, it's very punishing as well, because if you miss even 1 egg, you are going to wipe. There's no coming back from it. If you miss 1 egg, if 1 person doesn't break the correct egg, you are going to wipe, which means that any price is worth paying in terms of having a weak aura solve it for us, right? Like any amount of annoyance, any amount of things like that, it's just not possible to do the fight without a heavy, heavy degree of coordination like that. And I think that's not particularly satisfying. In terms of what actually happens when you break the eggs, so on Mythic, each of the 3 quadrants of the room is associated with a different type of egg and a different type of ad. There are the little eggs, you can see over here, these the little clusters of eggs, and this quadrant of the room that we're fighting in right now empowers those eggs. And so this is a Mythic-only mechanic, but whenever the boss goes to a new quadrant, all of the eggs of that quadrant's type, or trident, I guess, because there's 3, are empowered for the rest of the fight. So now, even if we made it later in the fight, all of the clusters of eggs are mutated. And so the clusters spawn parasites. They're basically Gahoonies from the infested affix. They fixate people, they run to you. If they get to you, they infest you, and then 2 more will pop out of you after doing a bunch of damage to you. The mutation makes them move faster over time and also have 50% more health. These worms that you can see over there, they do a cast. You just got to kick them. If they get the mutation, then they will get more health and 100% increased cast speed. And the spiders or crabs, I have arachnophobia mode on. I was testing that. But the big spiders, they get more health, and then they also make your tank take less healing every time they bite them when the spiders get mutated. So the basic idea is you're going to pick a quadrant. Each quadrant has a dominant egg type where there's, like in this area, there's way more parasite eggs than there are of the other 2. There's one where there's way more worms, one where there's way more spiders. And whenever the boss then moves to that quadrant and opens the black blood on the wall, all of those eggs get empowered as well. They get mutated, which is nasty. And yeah, we found that the parasites was the least bad of those. The worms were really obnoxious because you just spawn so many worms, and they have such fast cast speed, and they have so much health, and they can't be grouped up. So it's probably going to be like parasite wing, and then spider wing, and then worm wing is probably going to be the order that I would guess we would want to do this in to kind of manage that. But yeah, you can see even these parasites speeding up, getting a little bit out of control, infesting people, doubling up on the spawns. But yeah, then you wipe if you ever miss an egg. You can see we missed 1 set of eggs far away over there. And we didn't even miss an egg, really. There are a bunch of spawns on Mythic where there are double eggs next to each other, and we had 1 break where we only broke 1 of the 2 double eggs next to each other. But as soon as the blood reaches an egg, it wipes you, basically. It puts a dot on you that is not remotely survivable. So yeah, this fight was kind of bad. I don't know. This wasn't a fun encounter on Mythic testing, at least. And we were testing it trying to do the mechanic reactively rather than with a weak aura map. The weak aura map is definitely going to be the best way to handle that mechanic, and it's going to make the fight a little bit more consistent. But I don't know if it's going to go a long way towards making the fight less annoying, more fun. This is the empowered spiders. You can see stacking a healing reduction on me. Fighting 3 of them at the same time, definitely a little bit nasty, a little bit of danger for the tank. There's also a tank mechanic from the boss does where you explode based on your missing health when the dot finishes. So that can be really nasty if it's on a tank with the healing absorb too. You have these webs as well that need to get dispelled, and when they do get dispelled, they root everybody within the circle. So that's kind of a run out, get dispelled type thing. That was actually a fine mechanic. Yeah, for me, it's mostly just the eggs. The eggs feel extremely punishing. It's probably fine for Mythic, the punishingness, but they're like annoying to deal with. On Heroic, you also wiped if you missed a single egg, and that was catastrophically bad. I hope that it doesn't make it live. I hope at least Heroic doesn't make it live like that, because Heroic you would also then need a weak aura map to deal with, and I think that it's bad if it's necessary on Mythic. It's not the end of the world. Mythic, this is like a 5th boss. Being a bit high coordination. I don't know. I feel like it's a miss from Blizzard if they try to design a coordination fight and it ends up being a weak aura map fight. At least it's better than being a private or a macro map fight, but it's still bad. If that ends up being necessary on Heroic, that's really, really bad. So this is my early candidate for boss that is in most need of rethinking, retesting, because I think it's got a decent amount of potential. Like, I think that the core idea of the fight is good. It's one of those fights where the exact punishingness of screwing it up and the way that you have to manage it, like, I think they could make it more reactive by perhaps having some amount of RNG about, maybe some of the eggs get a time bomb over their head, and it's like, okay, you got to break this egg on the next set, and then actually breaking the eggs. The ads that come out are less punishing. The amount of egg breaks that you get is more than you need, instead of being exactly the same amount that you need. And then you don't always do the exact same path every time, and you don't always need to successfully break with every single person who gets a debuff. That kind of thing would maybe make it so that it was a bit more reactive. It would be important if they did that to make it so that there wasn't a huge amount of, like, they would need to make the ads that come out of the eggs less nasty as well to avoid it being a case of pull over and over again until you get good RNG on which eggs become activated. So I'm not saying that it's ready for that one change to make it good. Here's what the worms look like, by the way, if they're empowered. Just instant casting at us. Very nasty. Definitely doable, but, it'd be very hard to avoid breaking 3 worms at once here. Like, there's just so many worm eggs in this area of the room, so that's why I feel like this is the nastiest part of the room. Maybe with a good kick rotation you could do it, but yeah. Anyways, that's Broodtwister Ovi'nax. Hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope that we have another video as we retest this boss at some point. I hope. Or maybe not retest it, but just I hope it doesn't make it live feeling like it does right now, because it's a pretty frustrating encounter, even for testing. It's one of the ones I can tell if it makes it like this is not going to be a fun fight. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.